Just when you thought it couldn't get any more unbelievable or any more crazy, the NFL decided to up the ante. We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned. We used to be a team no one respected. We used to be a team no one feared. That was then. This is now.
First victory of the year on the line. Goff's got it. Back, looks, throws, end zone. Yes! Caught!
You know who we are.
10, 5, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
And you know where to find us. We won't be far. We'll be on your front porch waiting for you. We are the New Era Lions, and
we are driven by Detroit.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as we're diving in right now, hold on to your hats, folks, because this is going to get wild. But as I've said before in the past, I just want to say thank you all to those that are coming back to the show. Thank you all for those that are loyal subscribers, loyal viewers. You guys are absolutely amazing. You guys are absolutely wonderful. And I'm ever so thankful for each and every one of y'all. It absolutely means the world to me that I have such amazing viewers and subscribers. And to those that are tuning into my show for the very first time, I just want to say thank you all for giving my show a shot. Thank you all for viewing my content. Hopefully you all enjoy the show. And hopefully I gain you subscribers if I've earned and deserved it. And with that having been said, I just want to say God bless. Hope you all had yourselves a new year. Hope you all have a good 2024. And let's dive into this show. So, here's the thing, folks. I've talked about the Lions, Cowboys, fiasco, blunder, whatever term you like to use about that two-point conversion nonsense that happened at the end of the game on Saturday Night Primetime. And I thought at first, when we started hearing all the news, all the video evidence, everything that was coming out, that the Lions were going to be vindicated, that they had been screwed over. Because I'm going to just say this right now. Anybody with half a brainstem can look at that entire situation and figure out that the Lions were screwed. They were robbed on national television, in primetime, in broad daylight. There was no trying to hide it. It was clear as day. The Lions got screwed over. And when I started taking a look at how I was going to make this episode, I initially had a different way I was going to go with this. I initially had a different idea about how I was going to go with this. But I'm going to say this right now. The NFL just literally upped the ante. Like, they just literally went all for broke on this whole topic. Because here's the thing that I can say with 100% absolute certainty is that when it comes to the NFL, they, to a T, will always back up their own. They will never admit when the NFL has done wrong. They're never going to admit when the refs screw something up. They're never going to admit that outright. They are always going to say, well, it was a bad play, it was a mistake, we're sorry, whatever else have you. But this, oh my Lord, this is funny. I was thinking about this before I sat down to do this episode, but you guys all know that back in the old days, if I recall correctly, head coach Jerry Glanville took the acronym for NFL, that usually means National Football League, and then turned it into not for long in terms of players, reporters, coaches, whoever don't do their jobs very well. I'm going to say this right now. I think that we should change NFL from not for long or National Football League to new effing low. Because what I have read and what I have heard is that per Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, and I'm going to put the screen up where I'm getting this from, he is reporting that the NFL is actually looking to cover up the incident and say that the Lions actually underhandedly tried to deceive the refs to get an unfair advantage during the play. That they were trying to, in essence, confuse the refs, confuse the Cowboys, so that way they could cheat to win. Now, I'm just going to say this right now. While the NFL is not going to say this, and has not said this, Mike Florio, for all things intents and purposes, does have way more access to this kind of stuff than I do. And here's the part about this, that if this is true, is severely, unprecedentingly disturbing is that anybody, like I said, with half a damn brainstem can literally go back to that game with all of the cameras, with all of the testimony, with all of the freaking conversation that has come out since that incident, and be like, listen, there is absolutely no way in hell that the Lions were trying to pull a fast one. There's no way in hell the Lions were trying to cheat. They were trying to run a trick play, perfectly legal in the NFL. Trick plays are part of the NFL. They've been a part of the NFL for years. And somehow, we've now got reports coming out that the NFL is trying to quote-unquote cover up the whole situation by saying that the Lions tried to confuse the refs in terms of the call so that way they could win the game. First and foremost, that right there sounds conspiracy theory to me. That's what that sounds like. That sounds like to me that rather than the NFL owning up and actually saying, yes, we screwed up, they're trying to cover it up and say, no, that's not what happened. Actually, the Lions tried to cheat. They tried to go over top of everybody else by coming up with a dirty play, tried to confuse everybody so they could win a game. That to me just sounds absolutely like fantastical imagination at its finest. Because it's like, okay, here, go back to that game. Go back to the end of the game. The Lions drive down the full length of the field and literally have 1:40 left on the clock, no timeouts. They score a touchdown. They're now within 1 point of the game. What happens? The Lions clearly demonstrate that they want to go for two. They're not going to settle for a field goal and try to go overtime. So what happens? We have a timeout by the Cowboys. Now, that could just be the Cowboys were trying to get themselves set up into a better position and get ready for the 2-point conversion. But again, I find it rather odd that that was the time, that was the moment that Mike McCarthy decided to take a timeout. Not during any point during that drive to try and slow the Lions' momentum. Right then and there is where he decides to take a timeout. That to me is just a little bit odd. But c'est la vie. Then, after taking the timeout, we've literally seen 3-4 different kind of video camera angles that show, first and foremost, Jared Goff in the Lions huddle sends Taylor Decker clearly out of the huddle to go report to Brad Allen, the head referee. We then see an overhead shot that shows that Taylor Decker is over talking with Brad Allen. We see Brad Allen looks directly at Taylor Decker. He points to him. He nods his head. He acknowledges that he's reported in. Okay. But then what happens? As everybody already knows, we get a flag thrown on the play for illegal touching because supposedly Taylor Decker had not reported in, and rather that somehow, some freaking way, Brad Allen said that number 70 Dan Skipper had reported in. But yet again, when you take a look at the overhead view, Dan Skipper's nowhere damn near close to him. He's running towards the group, but he's not reporting in. So it's like, okay here. That right there makes no damn sense. But then, let's think about this from a further perspective. Dan Campbell literally said, and Rex Ryan on ESPN backed him up, a former NFL head coach for 2 different organizations, said that prior to the game, Dan Campbell said this, that he was in the locker room, he had a meeting with the referees to express that, listen, we are going to try and run this trick play. This is what the play is going to look like. Taylor Decker is going to be the eligible man that we're going to run it out of. So, again, and then Rex Ryan said, yes, that's exactly what happens. The referees get pulled into a room with both head coaches. They express them potential trick plays that they might try to run, so that way the refs are aware of it. That's part of the reason why we've also seen footage of Dan Campbell shouting on the sideline. You can read his mouth. He's literally saying, I told you. So Dan Campbell, during the moment, prior to the moment, and after the moment, has said, I told the referees this is what I was going to do. Taylor Decker showed up and got right in front of freaking Brad Allen and said, I reported in as eligible. But then again, this is what makes this completely idiotic. This is what makes this completely illogical, as Spock would say. Because again, what's the whole basis of what Mike Florio is saying? Mike Florio was saying that supposedly the NFL is trying to say that the Lions tried to confuse the refs, that they tried to pull a fast one on the refs. Well, go back to what the pool reporter that talked to Brad Allen after the game said. Go back to what the guy said to the pool reporter. He said that there were 2 flags on the play, right? He said there was a flag for illegal touching by Taylor Decker, and that a second flag was also thrown because of illegal formation, because supposedly, according to Brad Allen, Dan Skipper reported in, but he was not in the right spot. Okay, again, that makes no sense seeing as how Dan Skipper was not even in the freaking, little group that was talking with Brad Allen. He never even got a chance to talk to Brad Allen. But think about this, folks. Here's how this makes no sense. If you go to the NFL rule book, which I did, and you go to the rule book, there is a specific rule and there's a specific category on how illegal formation is called and what has to happen for it to not be an illegal formation. There are 3 categories or 3 parts to the rule. The rule states for the 3 parts that Part A, you must have 7 or more offensive linemen or 7 or more players on the offensive line, You have to have the eligible receivers at both ends of the line, and all players that are on the line between those 2 eligible receivers are ineligible. And then Part C stipulates that no player can be outside of the bounds, so can't be out of bounds. That's what the NFL rule states as far as illegal formation. Those are the 3 parts. Well, think about this, folks. I went back and I checked the film. Go back and check the film if you can, because if you do, oh good Lord, is it ever enlightening. Go back and check the film. Take a look at the offensive line of the Detroit Lions on that play. You are going to see literally this offensive line formation. Taylor Decker is at freaking left tackle, like he always is. Then you have Jonah Jackson. Then you have Frank Ragnow, the center. Then you have Graham Glasgow. But who's next to Glasgow? Dan Skipper. And then who's next to Skipper? Penei Sewell. And then who's next to Sewell? Sam Laporta. Now wait a minute here. When you take a look at the rule, as I just stated, Part C doesn't make any sense because nobody lined out of bounds. So you can't even use that part of the rule. So then the only parts of the rule that you can use is that supposedly Brad Allen is saying that the Lions didn't have 7 or more players on the offensive line, or that the eligible receivers were not at the end of the line and having the ineligible receivers on the inside. Well, here's what makes no sense. If 7 or more players are not on the offensive line, please explain to me then how freaking Dan Skipper, who's lined up as either another guard or an inside tackle to the right side of the formation, is not on the line of scrimmage. That to me makes no damn sense whatsoever. That absolutely sounds stupid. So Part A can't be part of the reason why you would call illegal formation. So it has to be Part B. But the reason why Part B doesn't make any sense is because, like I said, Dan Skipper never got into the conversation with Taylor Decker. That never happened. Again, you can watch that clip as many times as you damn well please. Dan Skipper never got to Brad Allen. It never happened. But yet somehow, some way, the NFL is trying to say that the Lions were trying to confuse the referees by screwing it up. But yet again, you take a look clearly at the replay. Brad Allen looks square on at Taylor Decker. He acknowledges him. He actually somewhat points to him before he kind of walks off. And again, you can't tell me that the refs didn't know about the play because, again, prior to the game, in the pregame warm-ups, the pregame meetings, whatever, Dan Campbell sat in the locker room and explained the play, actually drew the play up, said who was going to run what. So again, you cannot tell me that the Lions were trying to pull a fast one because everything up until that point was like, listen, this person reported in, our coach sat down in meetings and talked to the NFL referees. So this is what I'm saying. If what Mike Florio is saying is true from Pro Football Talk, that the NFL is trying to cover up what's going on and saying that no, that's not what happened. The Lions were trying to pull a fast one. We're not going to change anything, which, let's be freaking fair and honest here. The NFL wasn't going to change anything in the first place. I know several people have talked about rule number 17, where the NFL commissioner has the power to overturn overturn games, scores, and outcomes. But here's the thing, what most people don't realize about that rule. The rule is put there specifically if there is an external factor that causes the game to go into a problem, such as natural disaster, a player having health problems on the field, like as the case was with Damar Hamlin. There's some sort of use of bribery. There's some sort of case of collusion. There's some sort of case of extortion or conspiracy. Those are external factors that it's referring to inside of that rule. What's not a part of that rule is bad officiating. Because again, that right there is the NFL and the commissioner's loophole, if you will. That's their out. That's why the NFL can constantly say, even though when there's been bad calls that clearly alter the course of a game, that's why they don't have to change the rule, because that's their little loophole, that's their little out. Unless it can be proven that the NFL referee that made the call was either bribed, was colluding, was in on a conspiracy, or was being held under extortion, they're not going to change it. That's the whole point. So unless someone can prove that Brad Allen was taking a bribe or was rigging the game, there's no way the NFL was ever going to change it. As far as they're going to say is that, yep, it was a bad call, or in this case, now they're going to say that the Lions, according, again, per Mike Florio, that the Lions were trying to pull a fast one, trying to cheat and trying to do one over on the refs. That's what the NFL's trying to say. Again, I can't speak with any authority on what the NFL is doing. But when I read what I'm hearing from Mike Florio has been in the NFL world substantially longer than a lot of people. And he's a highly respected analyst. So for me, it's like, if it's coming out of Mike Florio, who says he's got inside resources, he's got inside sources as well, and he's saying that that's what the NFL is quote-unquote saying, like I said, if true, that is ridiculously disturbing. That is very, very concerning, because it's like, listen, never before have we ever heard even a whisper that the NFL was ever going to try and blame a team for trying to cheat in a situation like that. Oh yeah, we've heard about stuff like with Deflategate. We've heard about stuff about where, teams would steal, like freaking, they would take tapes and read other coaches' lips and stuff like that. We've heard about that. But never over one single play. That's never been the case before. And especially over a play where all the evidence is pointing to the fact that the refs screwed it up. Again, I literally have checked it out from multiple people. Rex Ryan said that the refs screwed it up. Not the players, not the coaches. Kurt Warner even released a tweet on his Twitter page saying that he looked at the play and he's like, there's nothing wrong with that play. Everybody's in formation. Everybody's where they're supposed to be. So again, everybody and their brother with half a brainstem is all saying the same thing. NFL, you screwed it up. That's the point. The point is the NFL knows they screwed it up. They're just not going to do anything about it. Because to them, they're more interested in protecting their brand than they are about admitting fault. Because think about this. If the NFL was to actually overturn the outcome of the game, it would literally be opening Pandora's box. Because then at that point, every team that has ever felt slighted in the past about a result would literally start challenging the NFL and saying, we want this game overturned because of XYZ reason. And the NFL does not want to do that. They would much rather deal with the temporary headache of teams being upset, fans being disgruntled, because they know what's going to happen in the end anyway. People are still going to watch their stuff. They're still going to buy their merchandise. Talk about boycotting all you want. The NFL has millions upon millions of fans, and it makes billions of dollars. They don't care about a 2, 3, 4 week excursion where fans and analysts are upset. It'll be done and over with by that time, and they're just going to be like, well, moving on. But this is why I'm talking about it in this sense, because the fact that if what Mike Florio says is true, where the NFL is going to try and pin the blame on the Lions, that's going to an all new low. That's why I said NFL, meaning National Football League, or not for long, new effing low. But anyway, that's what I got to say on that. Can't say it's 100% substantiated, but if it's coming from Mike Florio, somebody that is considered a pretty good reputable source, that's got me concerned, and that's definitely got my ire up. But anyway, having said all that, let's get to the end of this episode, and I just want to say thank you all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage you all to do one of these 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you've subscribed in the past, you've got to do so at the time, or you just subscribed, you've not had a chance to do so, I just want to say, please, 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 subscribe to the channel. It helps out my channel. I'm ever so thankful for every subscription that I can get. I also want to tell everybody, please, if you subscribe, make sure you also turn on that bell notification icon as well, so that way you never miss any more content that I push out. Again, numbers are always going up for subscriptions, but we want to make sure you turn on that bell notification icon as well, so that way you never miss any more content that I push out. I also want to encourage y'all to help out in that endeavor by sharing the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you can with everybody you can. The better it spreads, the more we have reach, the better we're going to get people in, the better the channel's going to do. And with that being said, I just want to say to everybody, again, hope you all had a happy new year. God bless. Hope to see you all in the next episode that I create. But until the next time that happens, I'll see you all in the next episode.